Well, welcome back to my garage. We're continuing on with the 74 CB550. First thing we're going to do is the back tire. So I got it up on my little bottle jack here. So get the whole bike nice and secure. And then we can start taking the back wheel off. Looks like first we got cotter pin we got to take out. We got this big nut here, and that'll loosen up the back axle. Oh, we got to loosen up these guys. It's got the cinch nut or pinch nut or whatever, lock nut. That looks like it's probably about a 12. And then this looks like a 12 also, so we'll have to back those up. Something I like to do before is take a little picture of where everything is. So if you look, my little notch here is about just a hair from the third notch. And you want those to be the same on each side. We also got probably this guy we could take off, might make it a little easier. It's a 14 mil it looks like, and then you can pop that out and swing it up that way. That'll make it easier sometimes to get that back wheel off. Also got a few things on this side. Got, what else we got here? We got the brake stay, has a cotter pin and a 12 mil. I got the on this side with the 12 mils also. Got to loosen that up. You gotta take off the brake thing here. You can take this off, which is about a 14 mil, or you could take it off here. I usually just unzip this and then pull this thing out. And then once that's done, then you can jam a little screwdriver in here or something metal and pull the whole axle out. And that will allow the back wheel to come on out. You also gotta, when you loosen these up, that'll help you pop the chain off the back sprocket too. So let me get started on that. So if you're new to this kind of stuff, these kind of tips will help you a lot. When I was starting out, I used to not know how to take cotter pins out, and I would try to bend these things straight. And, well, that's all crap. All you do is you take a pair of dikes like this. Yep, dikes. That's what they're called. And you just kind of get a little pinch here, and then as you start to pull it, all those guys just suck in that hole. And then once you pull a little out, you grab a little closer up, and you kind of use the nut to pry against. Oh, this is tough with one hand though. We'll get it. Get out of there. There we go. Okay, once that's off, you should be able to, no, not do it with your hand. Okay, well, we'll find out what size that is. That on the CB550 looks like it is a 26 millimeter. I got my handy dandy Pittsburgh. So we'll just go ahead and, I gotta be careful because that bottle jack almost fell over right there. So let me resituate some stuff real quick before I die. Okay, so we got this little nut guy, nice and loose. Now we can start on the chain tensioners. So, hold on a second, I gotta shake you guys for a second so I can figure out which way is which. Okay, so what we're gonna do is get this guy up on there. And then, single-handedly, let's see if we can do this. Nope, you guys are gonna have to come in close for this. Oh goodness, this is too close. Alright, well, just barely turned it and it broke free, so I guess that was nice and safe. So we'll just do that to this side. I'm gonna come on over to the other side. This is tougher to see because somebody put a freaking license plate on here. Will that do it? Yeah, both of these will just come off of there. So once you get that, oh goodness, then the license plate falls on you. So we just want this to be loosened. And the reason why is so you can, by hitting that in, you see how it dips the chain down? I'm gonna need to use my other hand, but I'm gonna get this a little bit looser and then maybe get my karate chopper thing to smack it like that. And now the chain is nice and loose. So we just pick that up and we can slide it off so the tire will be able to come out. We got the chain off. Nice and grimy. Probably needs to be cleaned and lubed anyways. I'll come on over here to the right side. We got this thing I believe is called the brake stay. And as soon as you undo that little 12 mil in the cotter pin, that guy will come down. You can just drop that down. And then the brake drum, I think this is called. Or is that the drum? I don't really know. This piece here, that thing's gonna shift around so that way it pulls on it, whatever. Okay, next thing you wanna do is before you undo this, take note of how long that is. So, easy way to do that. Get you one of these hammer jammers. Come on back downtown, over here, and put that up the wrong way so you can't tell. Oh my goodness. All right, whoa. So it looks like we're about maybe 19 millimeters. Sit still. Yeah, we'll say about 20, 19, 20-ish. So next thing you do is push that up, and then you can start undoing that guy. But that spring kind of keeps that thing up against there, and that thing's got this weird cup shape. So it doesn't want to turn too well when it's seated until it gets loose, then it gets easier. So you can just undo all of that crap. Keep in mind when you take this off, the spring's gonna shoot off and try to get lost. So as soon as you undo that, basically you should be able to get the back wheel off, especially if you're able to roll your wheel, being up on a jack and all. Let's hope that stays. Okay, so let's go ahead, I'll get this off, and then we'll just do this together, huh? This is gonna go faster than I thought. In the middle of this little armature, this little piece here is actually not fixed, so it wants to fall out too. That's okay, it probably needs a good cleaning. You might as well just clean everything before you put it back on, you know? Okay, once you get it out, like I was saying, that centerpiece comes out. That centerpiece is that thing. It's just a round dowel with a hole in it. And so that way this can kind of move, you know, while you're braking and stuff. I usually like to just keep things where I can find them later, so put that back on there and just let it drop for now. Okay, this is all gonna come off together. So now all you gotta do is take out the little axle or kingpin or whatever the heck this thing's called. And once you get all that out, these things will just drop and fall off and fly everywhere. So keep track of all these pieces. So, as I was trying to get that axle out, like I normally would, everything started falling apart. Let's see if we can get this in here. You can see that this actually is open on the back of that swing arm. Sorry, let me zoom out. So there's the swing arm, and normally they're all rounded in and boxed in or whatever. This is just wide open. So this sucker can just pop right out. Look at that. She's free. That's it. It looks like there was supposed to have been some sort of a bolt through there. And there never was there? So, well, good thing we did this whole tire change on it. This would have definitely flown off going down the freeway at 100 miles an hour. So here's the back drum set up and the axle. So it all kind of popped out. I got the shoes. If you look here, I can't point well. Will's talking about, can I? Right here, there's a metal backing plate that holds the shoe, and then all of this right here is actually your shoe meat, or your brake pad, actually. This junk right here. So if we look, that's about 4 millimeters, 5 maybe. So that looks pretty good. And we can check and see. Oh, it's not making very good contact. See how it's only shiny on that one spot? So it's probably uneven wear patterns in there. That's all right. It's just a drum brake in the back. Okay, so that's nice and dirty like it should be. So when you're doing your tire, you might as well just go ahead and clean all that crap out of there with some brake cleaner. Don't get your brake cleaner on here. And these are sealed bearings. You can't repack them, but what you can do is you can clean off the axle before you put it back together and re-grease that guy, and that'll make things nice and slick. Next step is you got to get the tire off. Okay, this is kind of a tough job, but something that makes it easier, especially on these old rotted hard things like this, is to go set them out in the sun. It's about 1,000,000 degrees today, so I'll just go put it out there for a good half hour or so, and that'll soften it up. Something you can do first is you can let all the air out of the valve stem, and then as it's getting hot you can go outside and step on it, and that kind of busts the bead, that metal rope that's in the tire that sits in there. It's called the bead. It kind of helps free that up. And then from there you got to get some long flathead screwdrivers or your tire wrenches. Hey, Dad. Oh boy. So this is day 2 of the back tire. I didn't do it yesterday because I just didn't freaking want to do it. This is another job I don't really like doing. When you have these old tires, they put up a big fight. Whew. That's why I'm all sweaty. I'm not just running this gross all the time. So anyways, I got some stuff cleaned up here. I got the chain tensioners, little axle shaft, brake drum. Got it all nice and cleaned up with some gasoline. And I'm trying to do the tire. So the tire is old, so it's taking a lot. I had to set it out in the sun for a little bit. Let me turn it. So yeah, it's pretty old. Everything's nice and rusty. So I set it in the sun for a while. It's about 85 degrees out or so. Yeah, and that only works so well. So I also sprayed it with some lubricant down in here just to help that get over the lip. That didn't work, so I had to break out the angle grinder. And I made a cut somewhere. I cut the bead so that way it would flex and come off. And basically use these tools, break your knuckles, try your best, and it just puts up a fight. Usually these bike tool sets have, or tire sets have 3. The big one's what you use to kind of shove in and get the bead up, and then you stick the little ones in so you can take out the big tool, the leveraging tool, and put it somewhere else, and then you stick those in. And it's a freaking nightmare. So anyways, we got the back tire off, mostly. And there. Alright, so I just turned it on for the good part. You missed all of the cuss words and all of the sweat and freaking hitting my knuckles on the spoke. Good idea to wear those. Anyway, so when you take the tire off, it's a good idea to take the time to go through and clean all this crap out really well with a wire brush and get all of that crap off. You can take this thing off and buy a new one of these straps. I think they're called a wheel strap, I don't know. So we got some new stuff for it right here. Outlaw Racing rim strip. I don't know. Also got a new tube. I'm probably gonna regret this, but I got the heavy duty 3mm thickness. And now that I have it out of the box and I've checked it, just make sure it doesn't leak, it feels super thick. So I'm gonna have to say a few prayers to make sure that gets on the rim and the tire or whatever. And then that's the new tire. It's a Dunlop Gold Seal K70. And the size, where the heck are you? Right there, it's a 4-inch with an 18-inch rim. Yeah, that looks like a pretty nice tire, but most importantly, it's going to be nice and soft by the time I put them on. So I'm going to go set them out in the sun right now. Clean that thing up. I also cleaned off the drum. Got all the brake grease out, or brake dust rather, without getting the grease out of there, and I'll throw a bunch in there when I put it back together. So that's where we're at so far. that's what it looks like when it's all done. There was quite a bit of rust in there. Let's see if I can get to a different light so you can even see how bad it is. So I've noticed that's pretty common on Japanese bikes from the 70s to have that if they're spoked like this. And I believe that's probably just the way they all are. A new rim is probably going to cost me like $550,000, so I'm probably just going to have to stick it out with this. And in my past experiences with this situation, just putting a nice new strap on there, a nice good tube on there, and you should be all right as long as you don't pinch your tube putting it on. The important thing is that you get something like a grinder or something to go through. I used a wire wheel, and I used my angle grinder with a sandy floppy disk to cut down some of that cancer. Yeah, but basically as long as it's not showing any holes in a severely rusty spots, like right there, if that can't be pushed through with like your finger, then you're probably fine. You can set these things up and find something to mark the wheel. Like, see this wood thing here? We could use the edge of that and that wheel, and as I spin it, you can tell if the hoop is actually balanced or not. Of course, when you see it move, it's from my hand moving. It's not actually warped. Another good thing to do is check these. You can check all of the spokes by just kind of listening to the pitch of them. Sometimes a screwdriver is better. Let's get a screwdriver. There we go, we'll use this guy. If you have one that needs to be tightened, it'll sound like this, not like this. So I went ahead and checked all the spokes and they're all fine, which is good because they're so rusted in that you probably couldn't even turn them if you had to. So we're just gonna forget about all that and act like we didn't see it. Next thing we gotta do is put the tire on. Tire's sitting out in the sun right now. I'm gonna leave it out there for a little bit while I go get some lunch. Throw the tube and tire on with a new strap, and then we'll start getting on to some other stuff. Awesome. Alright, so I've had this sitting out in the sun for a little bit, so it's a little bit softer. Got some soapy water. Let's see if we can get this thing on real quick. So it's real important that you got your tire nice and slippery. So I just got some dish soap and a tiny bit of water. I gotta put some on this. They can come on there nice and easy. We should just be able to kind of get on there. If that doesn't work, we can take this guy. Maybe not like that. See if we can't get him over. Alright, we'll have to come back and show you how we did this here in a second.
Yep.
Alright, so we got this little last lip so you don't want to go through. So what we're going to do is try to shove one of our tools in here. Of course this sprocket is wanting to bite me pretty hard. Oh. And then we got the first bead done. We already got our rim strap put on the inside. I should have shown you that, but oh well, it's too late. Now we're going to take our tube and shove it in that hole. So here's our tube over here. We got valve stem hole right there. So what we got to do is take this all out. That's probably the hardest part, putting the tube in, is you got to get that whole tire, whatever you call this damn inner tube thing, shoved in here, but you got to get that valve stem out of that hole. comes a time where I regret buying the thickest tube I could ever find. Basically, this is going to go on for about the next 10 minutes. Maybe a couple colorful words. So we'll go ahead and come back in a second. Once you get the tube in, it's stuffed all into there. Try your best to get it off of that lip. The main thing is to get this valve stem through the right hole. You get it yanked through, and then it's got this locking 12 mil you can put on. That'll help the tube stay. If you don't put that nut back on, this thing will just jump back in, and you'll have to fight the good fight all over again. So, as you can see, the tube is shoved up in there. For the most part, we got it off of these lips, but what will happen is when I push this in, the bead will pop over that and will land on the tube. So what you got to do is you got to put a little bit of air in the tube just to keep it from folding and getting in the way. So go get our air line. We'll put like maybe 5 pounds or something pressure, not even that, just like enough to fill up the tube and get it started so it's out of the way. Okay, now that you got it all filled up with a tiny bit of air, just a smidge. Oh, if you look in there, you can see them. It's not even hard, it's like a pound. And then you take your soapy water and you just freaking get everything really good and soapy. Okay, you don't want to come underneath like this. Okay, that way, if it does pinch the tube, hopefully it'll slide out of the way. And just get it greased. And then you use your tire irons to just start it on one side, and then it should slip and slide pretty much all the way until the end. And then you kind of finesse it on over. Be careful though not to pop the tube, or you'll have to start all over. Use your feet, step on it. That'll hold in the side you've got. Kind of finagle your way around to the tight spots. You stick them in basically with the tool like this. You grab that rim, and you want to make sure that you don't do that. Make sure also that it's soapy. Dang, it's hot out. And when you grab this tool under there, don't pinch that tube. That's what we put the air in for. Alright, we'll have to redo everything. So there you can see the tube's in there. I'm not pinching because it's inflated. Okay, I gotta come over here and do this side, but I can't do it with one hand, so I'll do that and then I'll show you in a second. Everywhere until I get to this last point. I got my feet holding in on both sides. So I got nice and soapy. Boom. Oh, goodness. After you do that, this is gonna be hard with one hand, but you gotta pick it up and drop it a few times real hard. And I've heard that that does something good, like if you pinch the tube, it could help it pop out. But anyways, geez, that was tough. Horrible job. If you don't like doing this kind of stuff, you can take it to a motorcycle shop and they'll do each one and put the tire on and take the old one off for like 50 bucks. But they'll usually try to upsell you some other crap while you're there and tell you that they can't do it because of the rust and so on and so forth. So that's how you do it. I'm gonna take it and bounce it really high. I mean, like, boom, boom, 4 feet off the ground, slamming it. That also sets that bead right in case sometimes it sinks in too much on one side. And then you fill it up a little bit of air, bounce it again, and then you can fill it up to its 34 or whatever you ride your shit at. All right, thanks. Before you put the back wheel on, you might as well just go ahead and clean your chain. I got this old pot that I used to clean stuff in. Just throw it in there with some gasoline. Paintbrush is amazing, as you can see. I just freaking carelessly do this and voila. This chain looked like trash a minute ago. So what I could tell was brand new. It just had been stored in an auto body shop and all that Bondo and powder sanding crap that's on everything. So clean it up real good, let it dry real well. And then you gotta lube it up with some chain lube. Yeah, don't use some oil. Don't put it on dry or it will break. You gotta use chain lube. Pay $10 for a can of that crap. But basically you can see there was some sort of crap over it all. Watch. Just gas and a paintbrush, that's all it takes. Delicious. Well, I hope that answered some of your questions about the fun and joys of tire replacement. I got the chain done. We got the back tire put on. I didn't mount it yet. It's hot. And I got some other things I got to go do today. So this is going to be the end of part 2 of the 74 CB550 build. Coming up, we'll do the front tire. I don't know if I'll put that on video. It's going to be just the same thing. You know, you put the front up, take the front wheel off. Same tango. Maybe next what we'll do is, I don't know, the exhaust wrap. That might be a fun one. Probably not. Maybe I'll turn the camera on tomorrow and film putting some of it back together and take it from there. As always, don't forget to click here to like and click here to subscribe. And not really. And if anybody actually found this video, thanks for watching. And I'll try and get a third part to this bike out pretty soon. And before you know it, the whole thing will be done. Hope you found this helpful or entertaining. And if not, give a thumbs down. Let me know. Write some angry comments for me. Okay, see you next time. Thanks for joining me.